Beyond the Hype, a fashion lifestyle tech podcast. Presented by Stephanie Williams and Greg Lewis.
Ever think about Egypt as like a secret weapon for tech? Okay, maybe not the first place you think of, but hear me out, because we're diving into why Egypt is a go-to for IT outsourcing.
Yeah, and it's companies especially interested in software development and data analysis that we're really taking notice.
You're right, and one of the companies we found leading this whole trend is CrossWorkers. They're the ones connecting businesses with some seriously good tech people in Egypt.
Definitely. CrossWorkers is a great example. And what's cool is that they are a Danish-Egyptian company.
Oh, interesting.
So they're really bridging that gap, between European companies and this, what might seem like an unexpected tech hub.
Okay, unexpected. I like that. But why Egypt? What makes them, a good fit for this?
In a nutshell, potential. Egypt's got this rapidly growing pool of tech talent.
Really?
And we're not just talking numbers here. We're talking highly educated professionals.
Right.
A lot of them in software development and data analysis, which I know is something you guys are interested in.
It's interesting because it's not just about, how many people, but it's the quality, right? What's fueling that?
Exactly. It's not just about numbers.
Yeah.
Egypt's got a solid education system. It's churning out these highly skilled grads. But it's more than that. Think about it. Location, location, location.
Oh, right.
Egypt's time zone is strategic. It's that sweet spot for working with both Europe and the US.
That's a
Seamless collaboration. We're talking about potentially being able to reduce those development cycles by up to 20% just because of that time difference. Imagine launching new stuff months ahead of everyone else. That's the power of location.
Yeah, that's huge. In today's business world, speed is everything, right? I mean, you snooze, you lose.
You got it. And it's not just about speed. Think about having a smoother workflow, faster turnaround. No more waiting a day or more just to get an email back.
Right. Makes sense.
This time zone advantage means real-time collaboration, more productivity, all that good stuff.
And on top of that, didn't we see that English is pretty widely spoken there?
You're right. Communication is key. English proficiency is high, especially in their IT sector. So that gets rid of language barriers, minimizes miscommunication, makes working together so much easier.
Yeah, that's a good point, because the last thing you want is to have these great ideas, getting lost in translation.
Exactly. And to sweeten the deal even more, the Egyptian government is all in on encouraging this IT outsourcing thing.
I did see that, yeah.
They see the potential, and they're putting their money where their mouth is. They've got all these incentives and programs to support the industry. It's a win-win for everyone.
So just to recap, we've got a talented and growing workforce, a government that's actually supporting the industry, and a location that bridges continents. No wonder companies are starting to take notice. But how do they actually, tap into this? That's where companies like CrossWorkers come in, right?
Exactly.
They're not just randomly connecting companies with the developers. They're building dedicated teams, right?
And that's what makes their approach so interesting, what we call nearshoring.
Now, for our listeners who maybe haven't heard that term before, can you explain what nearshoring means?
Sure. Nearshoring means you choose to outsource to a country that's closer geographically and often more culturally aligned, which makes sense, right? Easier collaboration, communication, all that.
Yeah.
And in this case, Egypt's proximity to Europe and its cultural ties make it a prime nearshoring spot, especially for European companies.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's like finding that sweet spot where you've got the perks of outsourcing, like saving money, accessing a global talent pool, but without the headaches of, vast distances and cultural differences that can get in the way.
You got it. And what's really cool about CrossWorkers is that they're not just about finding the cheapest option.
Okay.
It's about building these long-term relationships with dedicated teams that really mesh well with your existing workflow.
So it's more about strategic partnerships, not just, transactional outsourcing.
Exactly. It's about thinking of these teams as an extension of your in-house team.
So they're really focused on building a team, even though they're not, in the same office every day.
Right. And this is something CrossWorkers really gets. They're all about quality, first and foremost.
Okay.
They don't mess around like a rigorous vetting process to make sure they're connecting you with the best people. And it's not just about technical skills.
Oh, for sure. You've mentioned before how important it is for me to have a team that really jives with our company culture, even if they're, miles away.
Yeah.
How does CrossWorkers tackle that whole cultural element?
Yeah, that's crucial. And it's something they really understand. It's not just, here's some people, good luck. CrossWorkers takes the time to actually get what your company's about, your values, how you communicate, your whole way of working. They're trying to create a real team, even if everyone's not in the same room.
So it's almost like having like an extension of your HR department, making sure these individuals are not just technically skilled, but also a good fit for the team.
Exactly. It's a much more well-rounded approach to outsourcing, you know? And it seems to be working because they're attracting clients in some pretty serious industries: finance, e-commerce, even medtech.
Yeah, which makes sense, right? You can't mess around when you're dealing with people's money, their health records, even just like building a good online shopping experience. You need things to work.
Absolutely. The fact that they've got clients in these really tightly regulated fields says a lot about how many people trust them and the quality of their work. It's not just building a website, it's complex software held to the highest standards.
It sounds like they've really found a niche, but let's, bring it back to our listener for a second. We've talked a lot about Egypt, about CrossWorkers, but what does this all actually mean for someone listening right now?
This isn't just some passing trend. It's a real shift in how we think about putting together teams, finding the right talent. That old idea that everyone needs to be in the same office. Not so much anymore.
So you're saying that where you're located doesn't limit your talent pool anymore?
That's it. It means companies, maybe even yours, can tap into this global pool of people, find people with those super specific skills that might be like impossible to find locally.
So it's not just about saving money, it's about finding people with the right skills and potentially, even growing faster because you're not limited by who's nearby.
Exactly. It's about working smarter.
Who doesn't want that? Okay, so to recap, we're talking about potentially lower costs, getting those specialized skills, faster development, and all without sacrificing quality.
You got it. And it really makes companies rethink that traditional hiring process. It's not where your team is, it's how they work together that matters.
That's a good point. It's not outsourcing just for the sake of it. It's about finding what works for you, your company, your goals.
Right. And for companies looking to grow their tech teams, especially in software data analysis, Egypt has a lot to offer.
Especially with a partner like CrossWorkers to help, make it happen.
Absolutely. They've put in the work to make building these dedicated remote teams a lot smoother.
So for our listener, if this is sounding good to you, we want to make sure you have what you need.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll put a link to CrossWorkers in the show notes so you can, go check them out. Who knows? This could be exactly what you've been looking for.
It's definitely something to think about when you're weighing your options. Think, what could a global team really integrated, what could they achieve for you? What doors could that open? I mean, the possibilities are huge.
Yeah, it's like that saying, talent is everywhere, but opportunity isn't. Maybe this is how we unlock some of that potential, for companies and for the talented people who are ready to, contribute.
Exactly. It's about getting rid of those barriers, creating a global workforce that's more inclusive, more dynamic.
And that's what we're all about here on The Deep Dive, giving you the insights you need to make the best decisions for your business.
It's about thinking differently, exploring new possibilities.
So dive in. See where this new world of tech talent takes you. You might be surprised.
Happy exploring.
On that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into IT outsourcing and the rise of Egypt as a tech hub. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.
Beyond the Hype, a fashion lifestyle tech podcast.